Hello everyone and welcome to the first actual spotlight by Black on Electricraft, an addition mod to Rotarycraft by Reika. So, we have the NEI subset of Electricraft on the page here, which will be useful. Let's start with the terrain generation world gen of the mod, that is 5 types of ores, and it also adds its own type of ingot, and it also adds its own copper ingot. We have aluminum, platinum, nickel, silver, and tin. For those of you playing with modded Minecraft, these are mostly not new ores. Platinum is shiny from thermal expansion, and nickel is ferrous. We have some blocks to go over. We have an induction generator, which generates electricity from rotational energy from Rotarycraft. We have the induction motor doing the opposite. It generates rotational force from electricity. We have a resistor that can resist power, so we can limit the amount of current going through a wire. We have a relay to completely shut off any power. We have an electric meter similar to the dynamometer from Rotarycraft. However, this one has its display on top of the block. If you stand somewhere around it looking at it and you turn, the text turns, so you can always read it quite easily. And we have a transformer. These are the blocks of the mod. We also have wires that we are using to move the power around. We have an insulated version with wool around it, and we have an uninsulated version which is completely lethal to walk around. And we have different tiers, so to speak. They are not completely linear in the tiering. We have steel, tin, nickel, aluminum, copper, silver, gold, platinum, and superconducting. The ones I would focus on if I were you is the copper one, the silver one, the gold one, and the superconducting one. The copper one is used in real life, so let's look at that. Voltage loss 2 volts per meter, 1 meter is 1 block, and the maximum current is 4096. The silver is a bit better, voltage loss 1 volts per meter, and a maximum current of 32,768 amps. The gold one, a bit higher loss, but an even higher maximum current of 65,536 amps. The superconducting wire, however, is a bit of a dream state. Voltage loss 0 volts per meter, so no loss. Maximum current a shit ton of amps. And it's filled with coolant. If you look at NEI, we have a superconducting wire, cannot be placed until filled with coolant, and we have a filled with coolant. If you look at the recipe for the coolant, the superconducting wire, you must fill it in a fluid transposer or a filling station from Rotarycraft. And you input liquid nitrogen, and the NEI thing is completely distorted. Liquid nitrogen or gelid cryothium, which is a very cold liquid from thermal expansion. We also have means of storing the electrical power. We have redstone batteries and another 5 tiers, resulting in 6 tiers of batteries. And these are very linear, so we have redstone and a few weird ones. Graphene is nice, it's a nice material. And an auroral. Let's say that one more time, and that's the last time. Auroral. It requires 513 diamonds and another star and a ton of other things to make. So that's not cheap, but it's very powerful. So, that's what we're going to go over today. If you want to know how to get the liquid nitrogen, if you don't want to go for gelid cryothium, I will show that in the end of the episode. Let's start with putting one of the big batteries down here, and the batteries are working as such as they input power on any side and they output it out the top. So let's take you and you. If we take a redstone battery here, it's completely filled up as soon as I place it because we have redstone on it. And that redstone is powering the big battery. Now it's completely empty and now it's completely full. Because this battery outputs a shit ton of power. 4096 amps at 65,536 volts. A lot of power. And it can store a lot of power. The redstone battery, however, can only store 1 megajoule and it emits 32 amps at 256 volts. This is not much, as you may come to realize during this video. So once this is full, both are getting a redstone signal. It should output to any wire I connect up top. And then I look at it and I look at Waylight, I can see that we have 32 amps and 256 volts. If you remember, we have a voltage loss of 2 volts per meter, which is a block. This is the first block, so we have gotten one loss of 2 volts. 2, 3, 4. More loss, 5, 6, 7. But it's still charging because we have a destination. If we remove the destination, we will lose any and all voltage and current through the entire circuit. And that is also how electricity works in real life, sort of. So this is a bit simplified, but still quite realistic. You lose voltage over distance, and copper is a very good way to conduct power. In the next setup we have a super wire. The insulated superconducting wire would work just as well with the uninsulated version because we are in creative. However, if we were to step on an uninsulated version with the amount of power we are going to have going through it, we would instantly die. So super battery and super wire going into an electric meter, and we have 65,000 volts and 4,000 amps. And these go into junction here, or a split. And this one reads 65,000 volts, just like that one. However, it's 2,000 amps and 4,000 amps. This one is 2,000 amps, and adding these up together is the same as that one. So whenever you do a split, you maintain the voltage, but the amps are divided by the amount of wires you have it split into. And that we can see here. In the next setup we have a source, a meter, a split into 3 electric meters. After this electric meter there is another split, and this is just to show off the fact that these 4,000 amps are not split in 3 here because we have 4 destinations. So we have 1,000, 1,000, 1,000 and 1,000. This one shows 2,000 because it shows this one and that one, because it's only the batteries that are considered targets in this example. So if we take this one and put it here, no, not here, here, it should show 3,072 amps because it's showing all 3 destinations. In the next setup we're going to go through the relay. If we turn this super battery on, we're going into these 2 empty super batteries, nothing happens because we have 2 relays here, and if you look at Waylight it says disconnected. If we take a lever and put it here, it is now connected, and it's considered a wire going from here to here and power is flowing through it. And this is, as we now realize, the full power output of the super battery. If we connect this one as well, we have half of that power because we have 2 destinations. And if we shut off the first one, the second one will get all the power. That's how the relay works. The next one is almost a relay. It's the resistor. And this one is based off the real world resistor, not working in ohms because it's simplified, but the color coding is the same as in real life. And what it does is it limits the amount of amps that can go through. Right now we have 4000 from the super battery going in a split in two, whereas one is allowing 0 amps to go through. This one lets all of it through. We have 4096, and the colors we use are black, brown, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, gray, and white. And in the real world it works just the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if we look at the resistor, we have 3 bands. And we want the bands on the left side. And we take the first band, that's the first digit. The second band is the second digit. The third band is not a digit, it's the amount of zeros that follow the 2 first digits. For example, cocoa beans is 2. No, cocoa beans is 1. The second one, so it's 0, 1. And this can be found online by simple googling resistor colors. So it's 1 on the second digit, so it's 1 amps. If we look here, we have 4096 amps going in, 4095 of those go here, and the remaining one is let through the resistor. If we reset that to 0, this one goes up. The first digit set to 1, the second digit set to 0, and followed by 0 zeros is 10 amps. If we follow 10 by 1 more 0, it's 100 amps. And if we follow it with 2 zeros, it's 1000 amps. If we remember from over here that the maximum current that can go through this wire is 4096, and if you divide that by 2, you get 2048. If we go over 2048 like this would be 3000 amps. However, we don't have that much power in this wire, so we're letting through 2048 here and 2048 here. So if we were to put another resistor here and load up that one again to get the colors, this one is now at 3000 and this one is at 0, and we're not letting more than 3000 go through. If we put a current limit of 2, we get 2 amps. This one lost 2. That's weird. Actually, I'm quite intrigued to why this is happening. Let's reset the resistors like this. Finding the bands with the hitbox of the band can be a bit difficult. If we set that one to 2 amps, we have a current of 2 amps, and then let's set this one to 1 amp. That works. We have a current of 3 amps. 11 and 2, 13. 11 and 12, 23. That works just perfect. So I did something wrong, probably. Maybe Reika can tell me what I did wrong. So that's the resistor. You can use it to limit the amount of power in amps going through the wire that you have connected. However, the voltage will stay the same. In the next setup we have the transformer, which is used to transform voltage into amps and amps into voltages. And we have a similar setup to earlier. We have a super battery. Let's do this. I like to have those. Hooked up to a redstone battery. Giving it a redstone signal will immediately charge this one, and it will start draining into this one. And we have 256 volts and 32 amps. And the same over here. If we said we wanted to take this 1 to 4 and multiply the voltage by 4, we would get 1024. And that's a known bug with the update of the electric meters that you have to reset, and that will be fixed in the next version. So 256 multiplied by 4 is 1024, and the amps, 32 amps divided by 4 is 8. However, we only get 6 because we have a efficiency loss of, well, we have an efficiency of 87.06%, which gives us a loss of approximately 13%, and in this case we only get 6 amps out of it. So that's very inefficient, and the temperature is now at 166. We could cool this and not blow up, but what's the fun in that? So let's do this, this, and that. Boom. So don't put through too much power because it gets hot and stuff blows up. So that's fun. And we actually got diamond blocks. Thank you, factorization. Here we have a super battery charging a an empty super battery through copper wire, and it gives out the redstone signal, and the point voltage is the same as always, and the amps is the same as always. And if we look at Wayla, we can see that we lose 2 volts every block. If we take a cow, he dies. And now the copper wire here says 0 volts and 0 amps. However, the battery is charging, and that is, as I said, a visual thing, and it will be fixed. Throwing things at the wire also short circuits and burns any items that you might have wanted, causing the same update thing. If we take an aluminum wire, we have a voltage loss of 8 and a max current of 1024. If we exceed the maximum current, it will melt. Whoops. And he wants to die. I can see it. See it in his face. Hello. Die. Because it's fun. So that's basically all the blocks you need to know how to use, and the wires. The other thing that you might want to use is the actual induction motor and induction generator to make use of and generate your electricity. These can, all of them, be used like Rotarycraft machines to be turned around by using the screwdriver. And the angular transducer tells you speeds and also where it's getting its power from, I believe. So let's look at this setup. We have 2 creative energy industrial coils set to 2048 radians and 2048 newton meters. Multiply it by 16 twice for torque. And over here we have multiplied by 16 twice for speed. And if we multiply 2048 twice, we get 524,000. And I'm going to do this because I forgot this and that, because as all Rotarycraft machines, they have a loud sound. We want to muffle that with wool. And because it's a spotlight, I'm actually going to muffle it even more with the Open Blocks sound muffler. So, shh. Now we have 8 Newton meters of torque. When you turn rotational force into electrical energy, you take the torque and divide it by 8, you get the amps. So 8 Newton meters divided by 8 is 1. And you do the same for the speed but the other direction. 524,000 multiplied by 8 is approximately 4 million. And over here we have 8 radians per second multiplied by 8 is, if you look after the induction generator here, the first piece of wire, 64 volts. And the torque, 524,288 Newton meters divided by 8 results in 65,536 amps. Because the amps is not lost through this golden wire. The reason I'm using golden wire here is because it has a voltage loss of 4 and it can handle the amount of voltage that we are the amount of current that we're putting through here. The voltage loss is significant in that it is 4 volts per block and it can handle the current that's needed in this line. So we take some power, make it super strong and very slow, and make electricity and then make power again. In this setup we take power, make it super fast and quite weak, put it through electricity and make it into power again. So over here we have 4.194 and 4.194. So the power is equal, and over here it's equal. So it's 2048 and 2048. So far so good. These are giving different readings, and these are also giving different readings, as they should, because the speed is low and the speed is super high, and the torque is super high and the torque is super low. Use the gearboxes to restore it to the same proportions as it were initially. We have 2048, 2048, just as in the coils. However, the speed on this one is 1000 and the speed on this one is 2000. If we look at the power, which is basically what we're interested in because we can change the ratio between the torque and speed with gearboxes quite easily at the stage we would be in if we were playing like this. So 4.192 megawatts, 2.621. That's a big difference. What we lost here was 2 kilowatts approximately, from 4194 to 4192. On this one we go down to 2621. The total loss is 37.506%. That's more than a third. So on this one we lost 0.048. So I'm going to explain this now why. Because we have such high voltage, the 4 volts per block loss is less of a portion of the total voltage than it is if you lose 4 out of 64, because then you have 60, 4 out of 60, 56, 4 out of 56, 52, and 4 out of 52 is 48. And that's almost half. It's more than a third of the voltage is lost here. Here it's a teeny bit, tiny bit, and that's why we in the real world also use the high voltage lines throughout the countries. Let's go into Rotarycraft for a little bit before we finish up with the most amazing thing. So we have the refrigeration unit, which is from Rotarycraft, and now you can see I ran it already, so I'm going to reset that like this. We have an industrial coil with an output speed of 16 radians per second and 2048 newton meters. This is the least power you can give it to actually do something. And to make something, it needs ice to help it cool the world. So let's do a stack of ice. We can see that it starts working with a very nice sound. If we, however, give it a shit ton more speed, like we would any Rotarycraft machine, almost, it's way faster. We get liquid nitrogen, 100 millibuckets per piece of ice, and we get a byproduct of dry ice. This liquid nitrogen is what you need to fill your superconducting wires if you don't want to use jellied cryothium from thermal expansion. So that's how you get that, and let's go to the cool thing, the thing that I believe most of you will be most astonished about, because all this isn't cool enough for you. Bah. This is the nether star generator from Extra Utilities, RW Tema's weirdest contraption ever, and however, as far as I know, the most insane RF generation possible, because it's the version that is 64 times. The nether star generator in itself is very hard to handle the output from, and you get super withered and stuff, and then you get the 8 times, and then you get the 64 times because you run out of space for your silly power gen. Let's take another star and throw that in here. We get a few seconds of 256 lots of lots. Maybe 2.56 million something. And we get this buffer for 500,000 RF filled up instantly. If we go into Electricraft again, you can see that we have all these batteries, and these batteries are made with the crystals. As I said, the last one is made with a nether star and a ton of the lesser versions. Actually, I now realized that I calculated wrong on the amount of diamonds. I most likely edited that in earlier, but sorry. The tier that you get when you upgrade this is a completely different item. It's the RF energy crystal, and that can be used with ingots, H-slay ingots, inductive ingots, wool, tungsten, and bedrock alloy to make the RF storage battery. Now, you can see the stored energy here, 0 out of 1.2 TRF. That's not thousands, that's tera. Let's take one of those and put that here, because they input on the side or the bottom. Now it just took that instantly. I think we need to put in another nether star. It has no issues maintaining the input of that. So we've inputted 2 already. Let's throw those away. 62, that's the rest for a stack. And we can see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 2.56 million RF per tick for almost 2 minutes, and the buffer on the actual generator is not moving. If we look at the Whale tooltip on the battery, it's ticking like super fast. But if we look at the prefix for the RF, it's not near the amount needed to cap out the battery. We're at mega now, almost 400 mega RF out of the 1.2 tera RF. 1.2 tera RF equals 1200 giga RF, and now we're at half a giga RF. So yeah. So you puff, and we have 2.4 giga RF. That's silly. Anyway, what we're going to do is transfer the power from this battery into this one. If we wanted to, we could pipe it to some machines that we wanted, but let's just realize that this battery will not hold for more than 1,000 stacks of nether stars. We want the RF transfer cable. Let's place that here. The RF transfer cable in itself, when you place it, does nothing. If you know about the thermal expansion conduits, you know that there is a leadstone one and a hardened one and a redstone energy conduit. And these are not implemented in the 1.7 version, which I'm playing right now. However, we have the Ender IO, which is accepted as one of the highest capable energy transporting systems for RF, and that is these energy conduit, max output 1280, enhanced energy conduit, max output 5120, and the Ender energy conduit capping out at 2480. That's almost 20.5 thousand RF per tick. That's a lot. Actually, the hyper energy node from X-Ritals might top that. However, we just top that because we are now transferring 100,000 RF per tick. And 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1 million RF per tick. That's insane. This is just so insane. I don't believe half of you watching this video understand how incredibly, insanely fast this is. However, it's incredibly fast. So just to make this super fun, let's do that and get some tile accelerators. You saw how fast it charged this battery. Let's do this. 4 million RF per tick. That's a lot. And that. And if we try to fill this up with nether stars, burning at 256 times the normal rate and the ordinary 64 multiplier on the generator, let's fill this storage battery and actually see the result before it's in this one. Ah! We did it. But it's quickly draining. Anyway, that's the end of the spotlight, or let's call it the blacklight of Electricraft, an add-on for Rotarycraft by Reika. And I hope you learned, and I really hope you will start playing with Electricraft if you aren't already. So for now, thanks for watching, and hej då!